Hello, welcome to the Scale Modelling Cafe. Welcome to a bit of an overdue sprue tour. The subject of this is the Arma P-39 in 48 scale. I've had this kit a little while. It was sent to me, this is a review sample, sent to me by Arma Hobby themselves. And the reason why there's a bit of a delay is sent to me at home. I was stuck at home for medical reasons. But anyway, now I'm back. And it's about time we dived into this. A little bit of background on this, not the aeroplane, but Arma Hobby and this. Their first kit was in 48 scale, was the Hurricane. Now that Hurricane is arguably one of the best kits I've ever built. It's absolutely beautiful. It has amazing surface detail, recessed rivets and raised rivets. Some might say that the raised rivets are a little bit too prominent, and I probably tend to agree. I did reduce mine a little bit on both the kits I've built. They've gone over though to a new subcontractor for tooling and manufacture, and inevitably there's been a few teething problems. This kit is not as refined and as beautiful as the Hurricane. It's still very, very good, don't get me wrong. And we'll have a closer look in a minute, but there's no rivets on here. Which is a real shame. Personally, I'd pay a little bit extra for rivets, certainly recessed rivets, which would be more appropriate on the Aerocobra. But if they could do rivets on this to the finesse of the rivets on the Hurricane, the recessed rivets, then I'd be very, very happy. As it stands, when I make this, I'm going to apply and add the rivets myself. As I've done with their 72nd scale kit, it's all riveted, I just haven't built it yet. And what I'll probably do is do a side-by-side comparison of the 72nd and the 48th kit in here. So with that sort of caveat preamble out the way, let's nip over to the bench and let's have a look at the contents. Okay, here we are at the bench. First thing, absolutely beautiful box art. That is stunning. All this crumple stuff, don't worry about that. That's just because I had to bring it back in my suitcase and the boxes always get a little bit crumpled. But that sort of presentation is absolutely stunning. You get some, just a bit of gouge on the side. Kit number is 40011. Just some warnings and some Polish blah going on here. So fairly simple gouge on the side of the box. As is typical with Arma Hobby, this is a flimsy, as you can see, sort of Revell crap type box, but you do get this really sturdy tray, which is brilliant. Instructions and decals and stuff are going to be in there, no doubt. One bag of sprue, but I can see the clear sprue's in its own separate bag. Some extra stuff in there. An errata, it's easy for me to say, thing there. So we'll have a look at that in a second. Right, decals there, and a canopy and wheel masking set. We'll have a look at that shortly. Right, standard Arma Hobby, very glossy parts map, paint colours for Hataka, AK, Humbrol, Ammo, Mission Models, Vallejo and Tamiya. Clearly starting in with the cockpit, lots of decals going on in the cockpit, which is typical of Arma Hobby, and their instrument panels with decals are the best in the business. Certainly the Hurricane, you do not need any aftermarket instrument panel sets because it's absolutely beautiful, and I've no doubt this is going to be the same. Really handy guide here to show you the layout and the angles and everything, which is really cool. What's also really cool is a feature of the Arma Hobby P-39s carried over from 72nd scale is the ball bearings for the nose weight, which is extremely welcome. Right, here's the errata thing. So these scoops,
they've actually moulded them the wrong way round, as if they're intakes, they're not, they're exhausts. And you just sort of slice them off and replace them with the 3D printed resin bits. But as you can see, really detailed cockpit, and it should be relatively quick going together. Two-piece wings, sandwiching some detail here. What's these sort of air scoop jobbies, and the guns. Not sure if they're going to be hollow. We'll have a look in a minute. But I really like this sort of two-piece affair. Keeps it nice and sturdy, keeps all the angles correct. Then it's putting the rest of the airframe together, which, as you can see, should be quite quickly. Standard for Arma Hobby now is this kind of single-piece tail, well, not single-piece, but this tailplane arrangement where the whole tailplane just sits on the top, and then the fin and rudder goes on the top of that, rather than traditionally sort of two tailplanes plugging in from the side. Again, it sets the angles nicely, and I really like that innovation. I'm assuming this is radio detail going behind the cockpit. You could wire that up if you want. And then for the different versions, filling in various different scoops, panels and detail here. Lots of optional parts for the armament going on the nose. Bending some of the undercarriage parts here. Again, they do this a lot, certainly in their 72nd scale Wildcat. You have to bend some of the parts, but no drama. They give you the exact angle here, and this part A33 will set the angle for you as well. This was an issue in the original release where the main gear doors were not handed. They were just the same, so you got the 3D printed resin, but that's been corrected in this one. And then it's just putting the other bits and pieces on. Undercarriage, canopy, doors. Again, lots of decals. You might want to detail up the door handle a little bit more. Now, on the P-39 with the doors, it was traditionally entered from the right-hand side, and the left-hand side was the Jettison sort of bailout. So if you're going to do one door open, you're better off making it the right-hand door. And then final bits and pieces, exhaust, ordnance, aerials, prop, that kind of malarkey. Onto the schemes, some beautiful schemes, and I love the way they present these. We've got an American one with a big shark's mouth. This is in Sardinia in spring 1944. So Americans in Europe still using the P-39 right into 1944 there. French one, which is, I really like this one, something a little bit more unusual to do a French one, again 1944. And then this is the one for me, Soviet one, right at the end of the war, April, May 1945, from one of the Guards regiments. Just love all this slogans and whatnot, and red stars, and you can do a good weathering job on it. And so that is the one for me. I really like that. And then another one with this nose art on the right hand side from the same unit, I'm assuming. Full stencil data going on as well. So really good instructions, and as you can see, not that much of a complicated kit. Right, speaking about this, you get some masks, which is nice. The decals. I'm assuming these are Tech Mod. Yes, they are. Big fan of Tech Mod decals. Very thin. Colours are beautiful. Registration, printing, beautiful. They behave superbly. The only potential downside of these is they can stick. They can grab onto the surface. So highly recommend a gloss surface and plenty of water to move them around, because they can be a little bit grabby. But yeah, they look beautifully printed. Right, here's the, if I can get that in. So there is the instrument panel. That's going to work really, really well. Not a big fan of the harness, if I'm honest. I have tried putting the decal onto lead foil and cutting it out, and yeah, it didn't really work that well. But yeah, it's an option. Right, before we open the main bit, here's the errata with those two tiny little air scoops, look. Really refined. And again, there. Right, what it says here is if you've got a 3D printer, then click on this QR code and you'll be able to print your own seat and harness and cockpit features. I really like that idea. I'm going to have to get a 3D printer. Right, ball bearings for the nose. Looks like a noseable door has come off. Put the clear parts to one side. And let's just choose the first frame. Now the first thing you'll notice about this, as opposed to the Hurricane, for example, is first of all the lack of riveting. And secondly, the really unusual looking and actually very softly moulded thick sprue with massive sink marks in, and it all looks a bit limited run. However, don't let that put you off at all, because the sprue attachment points are actually quite fine and the surface detail is beautiful. Get right in there. Right, let's just put this light on and move this, and that should show up the detail. Just angle that. That should show the detail better now. So you can see that very, very crisp panel lining. It's going to take a wash beautifully. Really nice. Just move it there. The lights, the camera's creating a shadow. Yeah, lovely fabric effect on the rudder there. Some lovely cockpit detail. All very crisply moulded. Raised riveting here. If you are going to use the plastic seat and not print your resin one, nice and fine, well detailed. Obviously it's solid down the bottom, but you know, I can cope with that. Right, options for the noses there, different armaments. This one a little bit shallow actually and solid, so you could do with drilling nose out. In fact, they're all solid, look. But that's an easy job, just to drill those out. I shall be doing that. Turning it over. And what is gone is the sort of raised pins that were traditional with Arma Hobby. These sorts of things here, but you get it festooned. So that's something that jumps out. But there we go. Really nice looking fuselage sprue that. Go check out the wings. Again, your as we saw in the instructions, your two-piece wings. Beautiful surface detail there. There is some riveting here, look. But I'm going to be adding to that. Yeah, that's really nice. Wheels. Weighted. And there is some printing, I don't know, probably Dunlop, around the sort of tyre there. That's really nice. Another prop, different prop. Shell ejector chutes there are open. And again, very crisply moulded. Bit of flash on the trailing edge. But that's easily dealt with. Just quick swipe of the sanding stick. And that will have to be sanded down because I can feel that that is slightly raised. So that'll have to be sanded down to get a nice sharp trailing edge. But this is really good. Look, rather than having sort of pins, you've got this raised line here. And then here you've got a recessed channel for it to sit into, and that's going to line it up really nicely. So I like that. I just love the innovation of Arma Hobby. And some nice wheel well detail there, the corrugated sort of real wheel well roof. I'm wondering if you could drill some lightning holes in these. Add a little bit of wiring if you wanted to. But to be honest, I don't really tend to detail up wheel wells because when it's sat on the shelf, you never really look at it. There we are. That's a nice sprue as well. Let's have a look at the detailed sprue then. Here the undercarriage doors that they've tweaked the moulds to. This is the cockpit, the bulkhead with shallow depressions instead of holes. In fact, now two of these are holes at the top, but I'll be drilling these out. Very, very fine moulding here, as you can see. That's really well done. Instrument panel. That's going to take the decal really nicely. Undercarriage legs. Again, very nicely detailed, very crisp. Not much of a mould seam on there whatsoever as I can see. So just a light scrape with a sharp knife. Exhausts are solid. I'll be getting a resin replacement. But there we are. Again, really nicely moulded, and you can see this kind of curvy, very thick sprue gates, but the parts themselves are extremely well moulded and extremely fine. Right, last bit is the clear parts. Right, just looking through that there, I'll move that out of the way. There is a sort of texture distortion in those clear parts. They're not completely, well, they're clear, but I can see a sort of, it's like a texture distortion in it, which is a bit odd. I'm not sure the camera's picking that up. But I suspect when it's masked up and painted, you're not going to see that. Armoured glass, and then the doors with the built-in detail. So if you wanted to do these windows actually wound down just like a car, so you could cut those out. Oops, sorry, I just whacked the camera. You could cut those out and then just put a little bit of clear acetate in there if you really wanted to. I'm not going to bother. But yeah, really nicely detailed doors. Okay, there we are. That's the contents of the box. I think you'll agree, beautifully moulded. It's really nice. Yeah, I am a little bit disappointed on the lack of rivets, but that's just me because I'm such a massive fan of the Hurricane and what they did there. But totally understand the reasons why. But let's go back over to the chair and have a chat and a wash up.
Okay, there we are. I think you'll agree it's a nice kit. The sprues themselves, or I suppose technically speaking the runners, but everyone calls them the sprues, so I'm going to go with what everyone else says, even though technically it's not correct. The sprues look, as you can see, a little bit chunky, less refined, but that's fine because it's just the sprues. You see the sprue attachment points in the kit, and the actual parts themselves are fine. There were one or two issues with the first run. This is the second run, so there have been some things that have been corrected, like the undercarriage doors and some of the sink marks. And kudos to Arma Hobby for doing that. Very, very brave to modify some existing tools because it has to be so precise not to ruin the tool. And obviously there's considerable investment in tooling. So kudos for them. I think the way we've got to approach this kit is almost like a bit of a reset for Arma. It's a real shame they couldn't go with the guys that did the Hurricane and the previous molds, but I'm assuming the prices have gone up enough that they had to look for another company, which is a real shame. But that being said, they are working very closely with the new company to improve all the kits. The new toolkits we'll see coming down the line. So the Key 43 and 72nd scale has just been announced. That'll be out very soon. Very excited to see that. Be interesting to see how the second kit and then the third and the fourth compares with the initial P-39 and see that rate of progression. Bottom line though, it looks a very nice kit and I'm really looking forward to building this thing once I've done the riveting. All right, I'll leave it there. Thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, bye-bye.